So did you call his publicist back?
I did. They actually, it's kind of confusing because I feel like they're giving me mixed messages, right? Like kind of like mixed signals, because they're like, hey, we'll have our people call your people, and then they don't call my people. I'm not even sure who my people are at this point. Like, I'm like, it's me? Or who are you calling? Are you calling Kyle? Are you calling Jeremy? You calling Brian?
If they're calling me, it's probably just showing up as scam likely because I don't
scam like. Oh fuck! I need to start answering those. Maybe that's who they are. Maybe you think their publicist? You think his publicist is scam likely?
It could be. It's an unusual name, but who knows? It could be.
Is it pronounced scam likely? Is it like scam lickily?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Lickily? Is that like it? Like what country do you think that name comes from?
I don't know. And you know what? I don't even want to venture a guess because I feel like it would be
so racist if you put a country on that.
It would be pretty racially insensitive. Yeah.
If I had to guess what country scam lickily comes from, I'm going to say Greenland.
Greenland.
Touche.
Tell me racist.
That's it might. It's plausible. It's plausible.
All right. Well, since we couldn't get the right Adam on tonight, on today,
with
it's the wrong Adam. Wrong Adam. That's me, and Jeremy, and Kyle.
Hey,
Kyle. Yeah. So what we've been doing thus far is talking about the different shows, making characters, or GMing, which would be a really boring conversation. We asked you about GMing styles because...
Ooh, what are these shows you're speaking of?
The Boys. Have you been watching The Boys at all? Because like,
you ask me if I'm watching a comic book show. Come on now.
And well, here's the other thing: none of the other people on our shows have another show. Like none of them are Bruce Willis, if you know what I mean. If you get the '80s reference
from Moonlighting.
Yes.
There
yes. You go. I don't know if anybody else, none of the rest of us have that. So you're the only one with another show. So we'll probably end up talking about that at some point because I don't think I've actually listened to it yet, and I need to.
Many haven't. Sure. It's okay.
I mean, have you listened to these yet?
Yeah, I just listened. Well, I've listened to them as they did Spotify. I attempted to do them from the Google Drive, but it was a nightmare process for me, and my eyes crossed every time. So I said I was just going to wait and do them officially.
I mean, you know what? And in my defense, my listening to other podcast time has been greatly reduced.
Oh yeah,
by editing this one.
Amen.
Like I've listened to every episode of these like 40 times at this point.
Easily.
And if I had to choose a path for you, I'd prefer the editing more than the listening.
You and I disagree very strongly on that.
Dick.
No, I just mean like in the sense I'd like to. Here's my dream. My dream is we get to the point where I just pay someone else to edit it.
Amen.
And then I just sit back and roll in money like Scrooge McDuck, but that's probably not going to happen. So.
While playing a game,
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to play the game.
Audio file and be like, here, you fix it.
Fix this. Make it sound good.
Make sound good.
It's like, it sounds like crap. Your gain was too high. Be like, fix it. Oh, man.
Wait, I just did that, but it was my own track. So I guess
that was your own track, actually.
That was my own track.
Well, you got no one to blame but yourself. So, Kyle, let me ask you something.
Okay.
Here's a random question.
Ooh.
I got a random question for you. I didn't have one in the introductions. Now I got one. If you had to pick a state to live in other than the state you currently live in that does not begin with an L, what state would it be?
You throwing that little L curveball meant nothing. I mean, Hawaii is the obvious answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or my second would be Hawaii, Maine, or Wyoming. Those are my three big ones that I like. Wyoming because there's nobody there. Maine because I love seafood. And Hawaii because it's an island.
those all seem fairly diametrically opposed.
It's exactly
You know what?
right.
You know what the weird thing is? The weird thing is if you take all three of them and squish them into one place, you have Greenland.
Yeah.
This just took us back full circle.
Greenland.
Like, I'm pretty sure if you take those three and make them one place, that's what you get, or at least
It might be.
Iceland.
Awesome.
Iceland, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great answer to the question. I guess there's only one state with an L, right? Just Louisiana?
Yeah, it's Louisiana.
Is there another
Just
one?
Louisiana.
I mean, there's laziness. Is that a state?
It's a state of being.
I feel that state of being all the time. All the
Absolutely.
time. So Kyle, so you're on both of our shows, both of the both Two Past Midnight and Encore to the Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Which character would you like to talk about first? Or would you rather
Let's-
just talk about, in general, how you come up with an idea for a character?
Well, that's been the biggest difficulty for me because, I'm relatively lazy in all regards. So writing complete backstories for characters is something I think of, but I never really put down as much to paper. And in all reality, like when I came up with Dick, it's an obvious ripoff and trope, but we won't get into that for litigious reasons. In regard.
We don't want to get cease and desist letters from
Absolutely,
a certain
absolutely.
corporation
Nobody wants that at all.
was owned by a family where both of the parents died, for example.
Amen. Absolutely. But I really enjoy making my characters very, very generic at the beginning and completely modifying everything based on situations. So I kind of like to leave things open-ended with a very, very general sense of who they are and kind of just their overarching theme of the world. And then as things go, I like to fall into a niche based on who I'm playing with and then develop from there. So I don't think I'll ever reach a point where I write everything before we start because my brain is just so bat crap crazy that I want to change everything every day anyways.
Right. Well, and that makes sense for the collaborative storytelling, because then you can, because that's a lot like when you're GMing anyway, you have to try to like mold the story around the characters. And if you have the players themselves also molding the character within the story, you know what I mean? Like trying to make them fit. Like, yeah, no, I get that. That totally makes sense. And that's been one of those things Jeremy and I have talked about before, about making a character that wants to be in the campaign, for example.
Yeah. But I think that goes into, like, it makes sense. Like, whenever you pick up a new character, like, you don't necessarily have them completely fleshed out yet. It's almost like getting into a new car and you're like, well, I've driven cars before, but let's see how this one handles. And you kind of figure out, how to progress with that particular character based upon the situations, and you're discovering who they are as you're playing.
But like with Dick, I had him as so much of a follower, as kind of a lost soul starting everything that campaign. I kind of wanted him to always just kind of be in the background, like the lost puppy character. But as we've started, and he's developed much more of a leadership investigatory role in it, that I've very much morphed him into more of a guy who now has a cause that he really wants to figure out, and he's willing to be the forefront of it a little bit more. Whereas when we started everything, he was always in the background going, "Ha, what?" But like, as things needed, and like we needed somebody a little bit more leady in that campaign, so Dick's gone a little bit more to the forefront in that regard, and is kind of less of a lapdog.
But yeah, no, and that is the thing. Like, Dick's definitely come out, a few times.
Name is worth its weight in gold for those kind of inadvertent situations.
Dicks come out. How we haven't gotten to jail yet, I'm not sure.
I don't even know.
He's come to the forefront a lot more, and yeah, you've been playing him much more as a leadership role, and he's really starting to progress and step into that, and it is a really interesting character progression.
Yeah, because normally when I build a rogue, you're like, all right, strong silent type, back, sneak in the shadows, this, and I kind of morphed a little bit of a personality out of kind of a guy who's a lost soul within the circus that just kind of is there because that's something that's always happened, and he just kind of, he hit a point where something happened to his family and his parents, and he essentially, as a human being, didn't really progress past that point. He just kind of stopped being there and just, was never a wave from that point on. But I think this may end up being, what brings him out of his shell and gives him some sort of personality.
But yeah, no, I mean, and that is the interesting thing is I've really enjoyed the character of Dick, and it's also, I hope you're going to take this in the right way, but it's also kind of like watching, because both you and Brian are a little bit newer to the role playing,
100%,
than Chris and Jeremy and I. Not that never been exposed to it or anything like that, but it's also almost like goes in tandem with watching you guys kind of come out of the shell of into role playing, and that's been really cool to see that. Because you guys, both of you guys have just done some fucking amazing things.
Work.
So yeah, but yeah, so those things kind of go together. But I still think one of us needs to have a cleric. That would be nice.
I have a backup, so if anything happens to Dick,
I do too.
We have one that I built that I actually really, really like. So just there's that.
I'm pretty sure all three of us have a backup that's a cleric.
I mean, I'm thinking the next thing is we just go with 3 clerics and see what happens at the next circus.
Oh, we're all going to die. I've seen that happen before, and it turns out poorly.
It does not work well.
I mean, I guess you could make different kinds of clerics. Like you could have a couple of fighters.
Yeah, mine has a class that specifically has a pistol. So
Oh, yeah. See, that would work. GM might ixnay that. Though.
It's part of it's a not even uncommon trope.
Is it from Guns and Gears?
No.
Really?
Yeah, it was just there.
Huh. I'm gonna have to look this up.
yeah. You're I feel like that's one the GM will have to approve. Thank God the GM's not me for that one.
That's awesome.
As Jeremy was very much like, no guns.
We'll just skip Guns and Gears because it's a good book, but
I think that might be in response to the whole Iron Gods thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because it's all like laser guns and robots.
It is all laser guns and robots. And it was just like, well, let's do more to the fantasy aspect of it and less to the futuristic one.
Yeah. So both of his parents were also acrobats, correct?
You don't ask me where I got that storyline from, but yeah.
No, I'm sure you pulled it out of thin air.
But
the ether, if you will.
Just kind of a kid that grew up in the circus that was part of a family lineage, and then the family's no longer there, and for some odd reason he's found himself in the circus, which is possibly the worst thing you'd ever choose for yourself, is to be completely surrounded by, essentially remnants of your dead family and no real person to ever really grab onto. And yet, for some odd reason, he finds himself in that situation, and like I said, that's where he's kind of stunted his growth in that regard because of that. So,
yeah, no, that totally makes sense, and he's still trying to find his place. And you know what the weird thing is I think all three of us probably made characters very similar along those lines. People that have had some tragic backgrounds that were then still trying to find their place. Yeah. But I wonder if that's part of the symptom of the circus theme.
When I hit circus, I kind of assumed it couldn't be like, oh yeah, happy, healthy home. But then perhaps that's wrong with me. But that's just kind of what I went with.
Yeah. Well, my cleric character, actually, my backup, that's actually his backstory. He's came from a really good family. Nice. He had a great childhood. Nothing really bad happened to him. He lost something one time, but it was like his favorite coat. He lost it at a river, but he has no traumatic anything.
Those characters eventually go crazy and turn into bad guys. I'm just saying, or die heroic deaths,
or die heroic deaths. What about Cole? Because we haven't really talked.
Cole, we rolled into. Cole was not. I in no way, shape, or form thought I'd ever be playing the most militaristic of any of the characters, having zero real military background, as well as a man born in the 50s. It was in no way, shape, or form from California. None of that was what I ever would have picked, ever would have expected, or is anything I'm completely comfortable with. So rolled completely into him, and just looking at this character from a 100-foot view, I'm like, this is not going to be a nice guy, and I've got to just do that.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, we really like. I don't think we've seen very much of of his backstory.
Mhm.
We haven't really heard very much of him. I mean, I think we know that he was a spook.
Mhm.
You know that he was intelligent. Yeah, it really hasn't come out much, like actually in story, like in the game, I guess at least. But I guess I'm curious if there's tidbits that you've thought
Oh
of.
my goodness,
You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
little bits
Yeah.
and pieces that you, if, and this is up to you on if you want to share it now or if there's things you want to hold on to and not share till later, that's fine too.
Yeah, I've got things with like his family. Like I have him as the youngest of multiple children, growing up in a military household where his father was in World War II, and kind of the stain that left on the family, and why that led to him going into the military, and whether it was really a choice that he had or he felt that he didn't have. In some regards, I've got that. He's got a background that I think will eventually come out, that there's some ex-wives and some illegitimate children and stuff involved that, kind of play into his lack of responsibility at many points in time in his life. So there's a lot of things like that. And then with, standard military, and then at one point going into special ops, and then going into, CIA type thing after that. There's, a few other things that he went into that kind of led up to this war, or have him a little closer to this than just being a typical thrust into World War III. He's got a little bit more hold on it than I'd say your average person involved, with some prior knowledge to that, and that's kind of led to a lot of anger and trying to right wrongs.
He honestly,
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense.
he's probably he's one of the characters I am most interested into seeing where he's going.
Yeah.
Because
Me too.
there's so much there's so much there, and we just haven't seen it yet. Like, we've seen a lot coming out of Emmett and Murph and Jacob at this point, but Cole's been really reserved, and like there's a little bit of trickle, here and there, and I'm really interested to see how that character develops and like what story is there,
And there's even some things, we haven't touched on, like, we were in a prison for multiple months, and if I was in intelligence, and if they found out I was in intelligence, then guess what those months would have looked like for me as a character in that prison.
Yeah, actually, that's a thing I've been thinking about as referee in the game. Like, that's a thing I've already considered. And at some point, we're probably going to end up doing flashbacks to those sequences, because, if they found out you were intelligence, they would have been picking your brain.
And then did they find out on their own regard, or perhaps I have paranoia that the other three that were in there with me, somebody leaked that I have a background in intelligence, and then there becomes that whole aspect, because that's quite in what Cole would think and do.
Right, exactly.
Holy
And I mean, even then.
balls.
We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But
That's amazing.
Yeah.
See, this is why the character intrigues me so much, because just as another player at the table, there's so much we haven't talked about as far as like backstories and things like that I can't wait.
Yeah, and I, just the nature of the odd situations that we get into with this game just leads to so many different backstories and different abilities for things to come out, and different choices. And there's even, there's choices that I was like, Cole would make this choice. But then there's a role involved that might prevent him from even making the choice that I've created for the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like he makes a roll or fails a roll, and then
because there was a character that Cole chose to do something with that I was just going to say, this is what Cole would do, and then you're like, oh, there's a mechanic for that, and I'm like, oh crap, that means it could fail.
That's a ways away. We haven't even gotten even close.
That's
to
why
that.
I was very vague on that one.
Yeah, no. That's awesome though. I love that. Cool. Now, if anybody listens to this, they'll be listening for that, and they'll probably know what it is. But yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's really interesting about this game is that about Twilight 2000 is it has, for as streamlined as it seems like the rules are a lot of times, it has some really weird like little rules like that. You know what I mean? For like, I don't know. It's kind of cool that way.
That the rules are streamlined but accurately depict a situation for their use. Like the rule is real simple, but you read it and you go, oh, well, that absolutely makes sense that it would function that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And with Cole, I even inadvertently made a character that's completely the antithesis of my playstyle. Like, I push more rolls than I think anybody has so far, and I'll probably continue to do that. But I inadvertently picked a guy with a low intelligence, and therefore have less opportunities to screw up in pushing the kind of rolls that I normally push. So I have to check myself because, I'm very loose in my playstyle in that regard because I get very easily frustrated when rolls don't go my way. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to friggin' push it then. That's just how it's going to be. And I'm like, oh, crap, I have 2 stress. I cannot push this. But boy, do I want to, and it's driving me nuts that I can't.
Yeah, be careful about pushing that stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to that mechanic when it comes around. It'll be fun. But yeah, no, and I mean, but that goes back to that very first roll in character creation, where it's like roll the 2d3, and it's like you rolled like the
2, worst rolls of all time on the first one. Because I literally, at one point during that creation, I said, so the most important aspect of this character, I just completely got like the second worst you could do.
Well, I mean, it's
and that's
but that was one of the things that is it's not actually, you know what I mean? Like, because you still could have. Like with as old as Cole is, right? Like I don't think you actually at any point rolled so that he took like the effects of aging. You know what I mean?
No, I did. I took 2 minuses.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I took 2 minuses during that as well.
Oh my god!
Because that's how I ended up with D's in both intelligence and 4th column. Yeah,
that's right. I forgot.
So is he just like D across the board for attributes?
No, he's good in strength and moderately good in the agility and all that, but then it's just DD. It's just like
wow. Yeah.
I think he's like BBDD.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, he has a decent amount of specialties. He has a decent amount of like skills.
And dude, the double draw on the initiative is amazing.
Oh yeah. No,
that
alone, that has definitely helped you guys out in quite a few scenarios so far.
Yeah, because I think I've given it away like 4 times, but those are situations where like, oh man, we need the sniper to act first, or oh man, you 2 are the attackers, and now you're at the top of the initiative order.
Right. Yeah, no, that definitely that has changed. I think probably every combat you guys have gone into. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Oh my god. So seeing as how you're relatively new to the I mean, I know we were playing Pathfinder for a while now. Like before we started recording, we were playing like those scenarios that Jeremy was running us through. But just in general, I guess I was kind of what your thoughts are on the different kinds of systems in general that we've been playing up to this point. Like, do you have a preference? Do you have just like, is there a setting that you prefer? Are you just like, all of this is fucking awesome?
I'm liking everything out of Twilight 2000. I like all the different aspects of it and the character creation and all that stuff. I'm very frustrated in Pathfinder because everything is so difficult. Like it's different from my knowledge of 5e, where you're much more likely to hit a monster.
Oh yeah,
it's just going to have a lot more hit points, but you feel like you're doing something to said monster. Whereas these abominations that Jeremy creates in Pathfinder, you roll one of the highest rolls you can possibly go, and you almost crit fail. And you're like, "What do you mean? As a level 2, I need to roll a 26 to hit this thing?" So
I would like to point out that I did not build these monsters. These are by the book. I didn't do that.
But there's such a frustration mechanic because you're like, oh man, but I know that like those monsters don't have a lot of hit points,
right?
But boy, are they tough to hit.
Well, you guys have also had like more than a couple combats where the rolls are just.
I've been poisoned 37 times in this game.
You have been poisoned a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you have been poisoned a lot. I mean, we almost fixed it with marbles. I mean, at this point. So,
see, you did almost play a cleric.
Yes. Oh, I came so close to playing a cleric.
Oh, looking back, you probably should have done that.
Yeah, probably should have just given up and died. But I was so attached to the character. Please let him live.
No.
It was fun playing it out though.
I really enjoy the character at this point.
Mm.
Like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to duff some rules to keep him around.
Start throwing those hero points back out.
Well, I guess I'll go poison the witch.
I do really like the hero coin mechanic in Pathfinder, that it can be used for re-rolling things, which has come amazingly handy. And then also, please don't kill me's.
the please don't kill me. Yeah. Those ones are pretty good.
I do wish that it was kind of like a make the GM re-roll. Like that was an option.
Yeah,
too,
no doubt.
But yeah, like re-roll that.
Yeah, very similar to a luck in 5e.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like advantage and disadvantage, the way that kind of works.
Yeah. I really haven't honestly played that much 5e.
I listening to things like Critical Role. They play for the most part 5 and things like that. So I grasped onto their rule set more in a lot of ways.
Yeah. All right. So then this leads me to the next question, which is, if you could live in any state that doesn't begin with an I, what state would it be?
State of confusion.
I'm just kidding.
It would not be Illinois. No matter what. I'm never living in Illinois. I'm sorry.
I lived in Illinois. No, I was going to say, no, if there was, if you could play an RPG in a setting that we haven't played yet, like a different, like what kind of setting do you think would be?
I'm obsessed with post-apocalypse and zombies. I love that kind of thing. So give me a Fallout, give me a Resident Evil, give me a post-apocalypse, give me Walking Dead, that kind of thing. I love post-apocalyptic. On my other podcast, we talk about comics a lot, and we talk about a lot of tropes in comics. Are like, let's just make it post-apocalyptic. Let's throw in some zombies, and we're like, that's so stupid. But I keep reading those books because I can't stop, because I love that kind of thing. So I don't know, it's old hash and it's been redone, but there's something about it that I love. I love post-apocalyptic. Something's happened to the world. Everything's been reset. There is no society anymore. Also, watch out, because if you die in your sleep, they're coming back to kill you.
So, Mutant Year Zero. Got it.
There you go.
Wait, are there zombies in that one?
I don't think there's zombies, but there's mutants.
Yeah, that's true.
There might be zombies.
Wait, so I guess Twilight 2000 then kind of hits that.
Yeah, and very much post-apocalyptic, because like what you guys, there's no real end for this, because even if you find a happy ending, you're going back to a dead world and things like that, because like everything's been nuked and shot all to heck and everything. So just kind of how it is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, there's. Yeah, there has been so much material written for Twilight 2000, like from the previous editions, that like there are some really cool scenarios that take place in the continental U.S. that like I could theoretically be like, we could do something like this one.
What TV show were we comparing it to at one point? Not Homeland, but something like that.
Jericho,
exactly. And I actually really liked that and wish we got more seasons of that. But like that's kind of what I'm still picturing as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, that's probably very much what it's like back in the U.S. if I had to guess. You know what I mean? But I guess I don't have to guess. I could just decide what it's like, and
you are the ref. That doesn't work that way.
I am the referee of that game. I could decide that it's like fucking Disneyland.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's happy but you. Just FYI.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned it, and so we should probably talk about that next. Your other podcast. What is it called?
Comics for Fun and Profit. Yeah. So about a decade ago, my brother who's 11 years older than I, through some of like Walking Dead issue 100, and we really kind of fell back in love with comic books, and we hadn't since I was a kid. He was in his late teens going into college, and I was 7, 8, 9 years old, big into comics then, and kind of fell off. But we got back into it, and we just started buying up more comics and talking about comics and speculation and eBay reselling and stuff like that. And we decided we'd do a podcast based on that as well. Part because I just don't always spend a lot of time with my brother. So it was a nice way to just get together on a weekly basis and chit chat and have fun with my brother and talk about something we have a mutual interest in. And 2, we thought it would be kind of fun. So we started a podcast based on book reviews and also the speculation market of books. you know, if X person is coming out in the next movie, then you find their first appearance in comic book form, and that comic book will X double in price or triple in price, and when's the best time to sell that. Grading your comic books, how to ship comic books that you're selling on eBay, selling through Facebook, selling through consignment, selling to a shop, that kind of thing. And we just kind of cycled from there, and next thing you know, it's been 10 years and 760 episodes.
Damn. Yeah. See, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That kind of, I can't wait till we get to, no, but I was thinking that, like, while you were talking about that, like, I was thinking that's interesting because that was a lot like the way Jeremy and I were doing anyway. You know, it was like, when he moved, I was like, I kind of still want to play role-playing games with Jeremy, you know?
And that's the thing, like Brian moved away, and I was like, I want to do something with Brian. And he's like, well, there's this opportunity. I'm like, absolutely.
Oh my God. That's so weird how shit like that works out. Yeah, because we started playing this Iron Gods campaign when quarantine happened. When that started, because our Starfinder game kind of went on hiatus for a while there. And so I started a Iron Gods game on Roll20, and then, you know, got a bunch of people playing that, and was like, Jeremy, come play this with us. And then, same thing. And then it, you know, eventually, I guess, has turned into this. But yeah, so no, I totally get that. All right, so then you already said your favorite. Well, I don't know if they're your favorite type of comics, is apocalyptic zombie ones. But other than apocalyptic zombie comics, what would be your favorite?
I mean, yeah. So, like, I love Image Comics, which is not DC or Marvel. Image is kind of an independent written format, a little less superhero-y. But that's where you get things like Saga, Mind Management, Mind the Gap, and different, very much creator-owned things that kind of don't have a lot of rules. The difficulty with, like, modern comics and Marvel and DC is you have 70 years of continuity to get around that pigeonhole you in a lot of cases to really write things, which is why when, like, things like Injustice came out through DC, where you had, you know, your DC superheroes in a completely different world where everybody went a little nuts and everything, I really thought that was very well done, and cling to that as well, because you just get lost. And, well, Superman can't do this because in 1954 in issue 28 he did this and this, and you're like, But you get into things like Saga and Image Comics, written by Brian K. Vaughan, which is essentially Game of Thrones meets Star Wars meets Romeo and Juliet, and it's just super well written, and there are no rules, and it just absolutely, think of the worst thing you can think of, and it goes there, and it's just so well done with such good art and things like that, you know, I love those kind of books, and I crave them and collect them. Things like Why the Last Man came, I don't believe that one was through Image, that was through Vertigo's initial run. But that was post-apocalyptic as well. But that run, that 60-issue run, was phenomenal. We won't talk about the TV series. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. But again, graphing towards post-apocalyptic, but just the way it was written as a comic book based in post-apocalyptic that is also based out of Shakespeare in most regards. It was just, you know, really good. And I love finding those little things like there. And then, of course, your superheroes. I'm a big Nightwing guy. Love DC things. My brother's big into Moon Knight, so we've had a lot of fun with that stuff coming up here with all the Moon Knight stuff coming in from the show that was just on a few months ago through Disney Plus. And then as it looks like the MCU is heading towards more of a Young Avengers, kind of getting into what that's going to mean for that.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like they're heading that way. I actually haven't watched the as of us recording this, I hadn't watched the Miss Marvel one yet that's on. I haven't watched that at all.
It's getting great reviews. I'm that's one of the things I'm like, I'm going to just kind of wait and try to blow through all of them if I can. But it's very well done.
Yeah, it's yet again, it's one of those things where it's like a lot of my time for those things has been eaten up by recording and or editing.
Absolutely.
And doing other shit associated with this.
But it's been fun because, like, I have 3 kids, and we just went through, I made the kids watch all the Tobey Spider-Man, all the Garfield Spider-Man, and then go back and they could watch the Holland Spider-Man to go through all those. So it's been fun going through a lot of the MCU stuff with my kids as well, and telling the wife, I wish I could, but me and the kids got to watch this.
See, I just got to wait till my daughter gets to the age where I'm like, okay, now I can let her watch, you know, these, because she's 4 right now.
Exactly, because, like, things I craved with my kids is like, ooh, I get to naturally watch my son get go through Star Wars and see the "I am your father" without hearing it. So there was a delicate balance of him being too early, but not leaving him out there long enough where he hears all that stuff, and I don't get to watch him react to it.
Yeah, I know. My daughter has seen the first Star Wars.
There you go.
Yeah, but she started watching that like probably when she was 2. She was making Chewbacca noises. And it was great. But yeah, now I want to get her to the point where like we can watch Star Wars, you know, like in like a year or two. I think we're right about there. Like when she's 5, maybe 6, and then it'll be right at that age where it's like, here's Star Wars. We can actually watch the whole thing. Here's Empire Strikes Back, and just like watch that, you know, transition there because that'll be amazing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that moment. But she'll probably be like, "Dad, this is stupid. Why are you making me watch
so
this?"
Disappointed. Kids, you better think, because that is not going to be allowed to be your opinion.
Well, no, currently though, she does like because we have like what's called like when we have our daddy-daughter night, when like my wife has this, you know, thing she has to go to once a week. We end up watching like The Hobbit right now. And when I say that, I don't mean the movies, like the, you know,
the British cartoon or the British series. Yep.
Yeah, the old cartoon from like 78 or whatever it was. And she loves it. You know what I mean? Like she's like, she'll come out and I'll be like, "What do you want to watch?" She's like, "The Hobbit." I'm like, "Done." So
yeah, it was very disappointing. I remember asking my son, I'm like, "Well, what kind of music are you into?" And he's just like, "I'm not really into music." And I was just like, "Oh, what? How can you not be into music?" Like, that's the worst thing ever.
I don't really like music.
Like everyone.
I don't like food. I don't really like art. It's stupid. Yeah. Kids. They're terrible.
Ruin everything.
I don't know. I'm sure our parents thought the same thing.
Man.
All right, so let's see. So that's your favorite comic book thing. So Jeremy, you got any good ideas for a question? We're making this shit up.
Would you ever be interested in GMing?
I don't think that's for me. Again, we talked about the laziness and the kind of general broad appeal of changing things on the fly. I think you have to be a little more organized than I typically am in my life for GMing. So I've yet to catch the itch for that, and I think it's mostly a pure laziness thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, it is. It is an unfortunate amount of work.
It depends on how you GM.
It depends on how you GM, and it also depends on what you're GMing.
That's true too. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I guess. So other than post-apocalyptic, like if you could role play in a movie that doesn't have zombies, what kind of movie would it be?
I mean, I love fantasy. I've been a big fantasy guy. You know, swords and shields and all that weird stuff since back in the day. You know, if it's not Final Fantasy, it's been Legend of Zelda and everything. Anything I can do to, you know, pretend I'm a fantasy character with a sword and a shield. So I you know, the general aspect of D&D and where it typically takes place, I love everything about that stuff. So I mean, I love to stay in the fantasy, and I'd be perfectly happy if it was just, you know, elves and dwarves for the rest of my life. But I also am a big fan of that kind of thing.
Well, the only reason I ask them is because I know there's like, man, there are so many fucking role-playing games out there right now.
But everything is going to come back to a video game. Like things like BioShock, where you have this, you know, Ayn Rand utopian society underwater that becomes all about modifying yourself to find the perpetuation of beauty, and that society eventually falls upon itself. That kind of thing I love as well.
Okay, yeah.
So we're talking post-apocalyptic, elves and dwarves, and zombies.
Yes.
This sounds like an amazing game.
Shadowrun.
That's what I was thinking. That sounds exactly like Shadowrun.
I mean, yeah. It's like you take all of that, mash it into like Cyberpunk, and you got, you know, Shadowrun. Yeah.
But another thing, like with this, I'm the role-playing aspect of it, the characterization, the acting. You know, I took a couple theater classes in, you know, high school, obviously, that kind of thing. A little bit of, you know, improv through that as well. But I think that's where I really need to do more work, is on that aspect of my game. Because just trying to find, you know, as we've seen already during this, I talk over people all the friggin' time. And just getting the timing of that down, and, you know, when to lead the conversation, when to push the conversation, how to talk, how much to talk, when to just have a weird narrative vomit piece that you need to do. and all that. I'm still very much learning. As you can tell from both of my characters, I've yet to do anything with a real different voice. In our little pregame that we played before these two, where we played a thing where I was a goblin, that kind of thing a little bit, but I haven't really done anything. But to be honest, Cole rolled a California guy, so like it's not like he was from Kentucky where I could do anything.
Right. But
right, yeah, it is kind of like accent neutral.
But I don't necessarily think that's entirely required. Like Adam and I get into doing voices and things like that, and I know Brian really leans into that.
100%.
Yeah, he does.
But I don't think it's really necessary. Like it's not a requirement for those things. And honestly, there's a spot later on which has not been aired yet where Adam just throws you a hot potato and you just fucking rock it. Like you just start pulling stuff out of your ass out of nowhere, and it's amazing. Like you did fantastic.
Thank you. And that's the thing I need to hopefully be able to do more.
Well, that's the funny thing is because like Jeremy and I were talking about that afterwards, and I was like, dude, he made that up in the moment. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, I didn't know what he was going to do. I was just like, hey, it's this thing. Good luck. And like, just to like see what happened, I was like, yeah, no. I was like, that was not planned. I didn't read a backstory that had anything about that. I just threw it in.
And you just took it and ran with it. And it's fantastic. Like it sounds like you planned it from, the beginning. It's awesome.
I've decided that's going to be a new thing I'm going to do every once in a while is just throw what I'm going to call improv hot potatoes in.
and that's so cool because like I learn things about my characters when you do that kind of thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think you've done it because that's the other thing is I don't think the voices themselves are as important as the voice of the character, like the point of view of the character.
Now you're just
you know what I mean?
artsy-fartsy.
Like I think as long as there's a,
I said now you're just getting artsy fartsy.
There's a difference. No, and I'm serious. Like the character could have like the exact same voice and be a completely different character. You know what I mean? Just because it's the same actor playing it. Like think about like
Gary Oldman.
No, Gary Oldman's a bad example because you could put bunny ears on that motherfucker and he would be like, I'm a rabbit. And you'd be like, yeah, he's a fucking rabbit.
Exactly.
Like that's Gary Oldman. Like it's just total bad example because it'd be like, yeah, he's a rabbit. Obviously.
Right, but he doesn't change his
got a
voice,
rabbit that's a really good actor. Yeah, he does. He does.
Not really.
I 100% disagree. 100% disagree with you on this. Anyway, this is a whole other topic at that point. You're going to talk shit about Gary Oldman.
I'm not talking shit. I'm proving a point that like Gary Oldman is the same dude in everything he plays, but he's not.
No, Robert De Niro's the same dude in everything.
Robert De Niro's just Robert De Niro. That's it. You know what you're getting.
Yeah, but that's a better example though, because like if you look at Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, or you look at Robert De Niro in like Meet the Fockers, or you look at Robert De Niro in I'm trying to think of like another one that's like not at all the same kind of character, yeah, well, I mean, and only because like the Travis Bickle character in Taxi Driver is such a very like specific kind of character. You know what I mean? And yeah, and his character in Goodfellas is not the same character. But it's still the same voice. You know what I mean? Like he's not like trying to like come up with a new voice for the character. He's just playing that character. But that was my point ultimately, is I don't think the voice is as important as the like point of view of the character, like where they're coming from. And sometimes that could just be cadence. You know what I mean? Like how they say what they're saying, or the words that they choose, or the words they choose not to use, like that's sometimes more important than tone and, anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got artsy fartsy and I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
How dare you?
I know. Yeah, because I don't do a lot of voices. I don't think so. I might, maybe.
I try to, but it's like 6.
Well, you were running your voice through a modulator at one point, and you stopped doing that.
That was early on. Yeah, that was doing the society stuff, and then I ended up taking a step back from that just because it ended up sounding way too weird and didn't.
It was quite fun. It was very fun.
It was far too one way. And then I couldn't even hear it. Like I wasn't doing active monitoring at the time, and everything that came out of it was just my own voice. So I had no idea what it sounded like. And
Yeah, that was definitely the problem with it, because the volume difference between the effect and like your actual mic was so different that it was like, oh my God, it's so loud. Yeah. Why is this so loud? It was like you were yelling at us constantly. Oh, do you have a backup character planned for 20,000? Cool. Or I'm sorry, Kyle.
Yeah.
I do not at the moment. I know what it would be, but I've yet to put anything on paper.
Because I was actually thinking about potentially for backup characters, and this is a thing I'm going to bring up now, is the option of using the archetype method instead of the whole life path.
Because literally, I would make essentially the archetypal medic as my backup character. Because I actually very much like the in combat medic.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you saw that in the book. Have you seen that in the player's manual?
Right now,
the archetypes. Oh, did you get your copy?
You linked to that digital manual with everything.
Oh, that's not what I meant. No. Okay. Brian got his package. Yours should probably be there tomorrow. So just to let you know, there's a set of dice and a
very cool, awesome.
Yeah, so you'll have a copy of that to peruse at your leisure instead of having to print the whole thing off.
May or may not be from work. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, so like Jeremy and I had talked about bringing in other games at some point. You know what I mean? Like playing some other systems.
Yeah.
Kind of like as one-offs. Basically, at that point, the settings become almost limitless at that point. Like we could play fucking pretty much anything.
Yeah.
You know? And that was why I was asking about like if you had an interest in like any other, genres, I guess, other than... like if it's fantasy, you'd prefer. Or
I mean, those are the places I'm comfortable with because those are like the environments I play games in and stuff. But I mean, I'm down for whatever. It would be kind of cool to just be like something I've never touched. To be like, I'm not a space guy. I typically hate space, but I might love it.
What about Alien? Like the movie Alien.
Oh, like fear based and yeah.
Well, that was why I was curious. I was just like, because it's space, but it's less of a sci-fi movie and more of a horror movie at that point.
Yeah, I'm weird in that I love zombies and that kind of stuff, but I don't like horror.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't watch your Friday the 13th or your Halloweens or any of that stuff. I don't like spooky. It's weird.
So like, okay. Are there any kind of horror genres that you like, or is it just all horror genres you don't like?
I just like they're like, ooh, the Saw movies. I'm like, I will never watch those.
Oh yeah. I feel the same way about the Saw movies. I feel like that's just gore for gore's sake.
Exactly, and I'm diametrically opposed to that. But like, I'll watch a good zombie movie. I'll watch a 28 Days Later or those kind of things as well. But for the most part, when they're like horror, I'm just like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. What about like The Thing? Like the 80s one, like John Carpenter.
Yeah, The Thing and The Blob and none of that stuff, really. Mm-mm.
Okay. I was just curious.
And again, I'm not against it. I'm just not drawn to that kind of thing.
Right. There are reasons I'm asking this, because in my head, and Jeremy probably knows which games I'm thinking about. I do. What about X-Files? Do you like X-Files?
I very much enjoyed X-Files. Yes.
Okay. Noted.
You're a metal guy when it comes to music too, aren't you?
Yes, very much so.
Got it. Yeah. Because I thought Brian had mentioned that before in some of our side conversations, and that you're a big metal guy. And there's definitely a game with zombies and metal that would be perfect for that.
There you go. Yeah.
Have you looked at the Merc board game yet? That's basically what it is.
It's all that. It's just that.
That's awesome.
That is seriously my favorite RPG book right now. Like the book itself is fucking astounding. It's gorgeous. It has like a ribbon attached to the book, so you can like a page mark. It's.
But I'm thinking gorgeous. That the joy of this isn't necessarily unique, because you're seeing even like in current Stranger Things, they're leaning into D&D and metal music in a lot of things. So
oh my god, the Bard.
Yeah. Yes.
That was like when he started playing fucking Master of Puppets, I was like, this is amazing.
Yes. I went back to a person that I work with that was just like, he couldn't get through season 1. And I'm like, you've got to force yourself through everything just for this one thing. I don't care what you have to do. You have to get through it, and it will be worth it.
Yeah, that scene was so fucking amazing. It's like that guy got to live out a music video, like a rock, like metal video from the fucking 80s. I think that was one of the other things that was kind of funny in that show when they were like looking through all the different music because they were going to try to bring the one girl out of it. And they're like, we're looking for music. And he's like, holds up like an Iron Maiden cassette. He's like, this is music. So great. Oh, man. All right. So we've talked about Stranger Things. We've talked about other Stranger Things. Jeremy, you got any other good topics, I guess?
I'm running low. I'm usually bad at these. You're much
Which
better
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle would you be?
Which Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle would you be?
That's a good one. Wait, which one would I want to be, or which one am I most like?
See, there you
or
go.
which one? Well, there's difference.
Yeah, I do a lot of things with the 4 archetypes of the Ninja Turtles, and then compared to the current 4 Robins we have in DC continuity as well.
Oh yeah, I can see a correlation between those. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I'm thinking about which Ninja Turtle I would.
I mean, Donatello was always everybody's favorite back in the day.
I know that was like the first one I go to, but I don't know how Donatello.
But then you've got the dumbest of all weapons, and
right.
And then you really just want to be the nerd.
I mean, he was the best one, though. You know what I mean? Like, he was definitely the best Ninja Turtle. You know, and well, that's the other thing too. Is I feel like the people that are drawn. I'm going to alienate people. I feel like the people that are drawn to, and it's fine. It's one of them's going to be Brian in a second. I feel like the people that are drawn to like Raphael are the same people who are just like drawn to Wolverine. You know what I mean?
Shots fired.
Those are some shots fired. I don't even think Adam understands why.
I do. I know why. He'll listen to this later and be like, God damn it.
That's funny.
No, but I'm not, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, like, you know, because I don't know, different people latch on to different characters and, you know, like for whatever reason, you know, but I don't know. It was one of those, like, my issue with the movies, the X-Men movies, for example, which were great. You know what I mean? Like, they were amazing. But my issue was
that Wolverine was 6 foot tall.
Well, one. 2 was they just treated Cyclops like a, you know, like a piece of crap. You know what I mean? They would, like, the other characters would do that in the comics, but the character Cyclops is a badass, you know? Like, but they just kind of, like, in the movies dismiss him as just this, like, whiny guy, you know? Whereas, like, he was the Captain America of the group, you know? Like, he was the tactician. He was, you know? And he just got, like, sidelined because everybody liked the rebellious Wolverine, you know?
Yeah, qualities of leadership seem to be overrated in almost every characterization. People don't really give, he's the guy that leads everything. He's the one that makes everything work. He balances out all the different personalities and gives them, you know, what they need to succeed. In every regard, people are just like, anybody can do that. No, they can.
No, they can't. Not everybody can do that, you know? And that was, like, the unfortunate thing, because they still could have killed him off, but it would have meant more if he was, like, the glue of the team. You know what I mean? Even though him and Wolverine butt heads, you know, in spite of that, he's still the glue of the team. And then his death would have meant something. But it didn't play out that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it played out like,
ooh, we were all waiting for him to die, so he's out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and yet again, I'm not, you know, necessarily talking trash about Wolverine. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like the person that wrote those had too much of an obsession for, you know, with Wolverine in one way or another.
Well, I've talked a lot of crap about Wolverine, and because even in modern continuity Marvel stuff, he's just boring. It's just like, let's see how much of his flesh we can melt off just to have him heal, just to be something dumb. But like you went to the little girl version of Wolverine, the clone, in a lot of stuff, and she actually had really good storylines because you were able to take some of the cooler things about Wolverine, but not have to be just the exact same personality and the exact same ball of rage with it. You could actually think about things and try to do things instead of just being angry and looking for people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to get your opinion. Wolverine, I think it was called The Wolverine, right? The one where he's in Japan, right? Okay. In that movie, in the beginning, he's in the pit, right? And he like covers the guy up and like the bomb goes off and like melts off, his skin and everything. Yeah. And then his skin and everything grows back, right? And his hair grows back to the exact same haircut. Do you think that's realistic or not?
Yeah, and they tried to circumcise him when he was a kid. It just didn't take, too. So, I mean, there's all that kind of stuff.
Well, the haircut thing specifically bugged me. Yeah. Like, when I watched it in the theater, I was like, hair's dead.
Yeah. It would have to start from
the follicles.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would have to start from, like, he'd be like a seal, a baby seal, right? He'd just be, like, smooth.
The idea of a dead cell regenerating is, in and of itself, not possible.
Well, maybe his hair cells aren't dead.
Whoa, adamantia.
That's
like maybe they're still living, man.
So he's just constantly. Well, that's the other thing too. Does he constantly have to groom? You know what I mean? Is he just constantly like shaving himself with the claws? And did they do him a favor by giving him the adamantine ones to just like constantly shave with? And does he just leave like a trail of hair? Like, like everywhere he goes.
I'm sure he sheds like a motherfucker.
What was the same thing with Superman? How does Superman shave and all that? I mean, they went through all that for a while too, as well.
Kryptonite razors.
Exactly.
It's the only way. It's the only way he's going to be able to do it.
God, I hate Superman.
Well, no, I disagree with you.
No, it's I
love Superman.
I hate Superman.
I hate Superman.
I mean, he is the Boy Scout, and I am an Eagle Scout, but I still dislike Superman. It's just too easy to get into.
Yeah. It's just heroes that are so superior that you have to give them some bullshit moral quandary to like make it interesting. He's just overpowered.
Well, Flash is the worst of them all. Flash is the most overpowered character of all time. If you actually stack up the powers, it's like, oh,
yeah, he is.
You couldn't do anything. You'd be like, oh no, what's he going to do about a bank robber? I don't know. Go back in time, vibrate through them, murder them all, or change his past, kill him as a baby, a million things.
Yeah.
Or make it so the bank robber's parents didn't die, and he grows up in a stable family.
Just snap your fingers, and all of a sudden he has a happy life, and he's just like, "Why, thank you."
Well, no, actually, weirdly, that sounds like it would fit the Flash, though, like character-wise. Like that's what he would do: is go back, find the thing that like that took this person down the wrong path in their life, and then
rectify it,
so that they could like live a happy life.
Also, that makes for really boring storytelling.
Yeah, they're on season 8 of the TV show because they're doing none of that.
It's basically, it would basically be a combination of like Highway to Heaven, The Flash, Quantum Leap. Oh my god, Flash Leap, is that what we call it? Quantum Flash, maybe.
We've created a new character.
God damn it! Now someone's gonna steal our idea. Don't listen to this, DC. No, I 100% disagree with you on the Superman thing. That's all I'm going to say. But for the exact reasons that you said you don't like it, Jeremy. Yeah. I think it's interesting that his like primary nemesis is just a dude, like a really smart human, like there's nothing superpowered about him other than he's super intelligent, and it's him that like dreams up these moral quandaries to, challenge Superman, you know what I mean? That he has to come up with those situations to put him into.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But
well, that goes back to like Lex Luthor is more interesting than Superman at that point.
Oh yeah, totally. No. Well, now we're about to get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole.
So Kyle, you're predominantly up to this point have been a comics guy then. So what is your opinion on the differences between the big two, right? Between like the way Marvel does their characters and the way like DC has
from a comic or television or movie perspective?
Yes.
Let's go comics.
Well, they're
Let's
all
start
completely
with
different.
comics.
So Marvel is just jettisoning a ton of things out. They're putting out 100 different books a month in any given thing, and they're just trying to cover as many bases as possible. They're up to charging almost $8 a book now. They're doing weird legacy numbers where they're like adding all of the Moon Knights for all of time and saying we're at issue 600, so you got to pay $10 for this, and it's a celebration. So they're doing a lot of things like that at the moment. And then just kind of, there's, I think, 7 or 8 Spider books at the moment, and there's like 6 or 8 Wolverine books or X-Men books at the moment. So it's a lot of just quantity over quality. There has definitely been some good stuff in like your Venom run that was out. The Thor movie that's coming out is based on Jason Aaron's run of Thor: God of Thunder from a few years ago. But they're just shotgun scattering at the wall and hoping they can hit something. DC is lost a bit as well. Well, if you just look like Tom King hijacked the Batman comic for a long period of time and then brought a relationship with Catwoman in where they got engaged and people hated it so much to the point where Tom King just kind of got kicked off of it and said, go write yourself a 12-issue arc for this on the side and then let us get back to regular Bat books and things like this. And then, they've gone, which I'm okay, which I actually think's good. They've gone towards like, there's a bisexual Robin. There is Superman's son and Jonathan Kent's gay and has a storyline. And they're leaning very heavily into that as their thing as well. Just doing stuff different with different characterizations. And I'm glad they're doing it with new characters instead of rehashing old things. I mean, it makes sense in the regard that they did it. And even, Tom King, one of my favorite writers at the moment, not Tom King, but Tom Taylor, is responsible for some of the stuff on that. So it's being well done and handled well, but they're doing a lot of that thing in the new one. And then the big thing with DC is like, okay, let's take all the superheroes and now they're all zombies and they're trying to kill each other. Or
wait, didn't Marvel do that?
Marvel did a quick step, but like we've just gone so deep into that with DC quite a bit at the moment. And I don't know, they're just kind of spinning their wheels and lost and hoping for different things. They're trying a bunch of different stuff, but not all of it's really hitting for DC. But I still love them. Like Tom Taylor's writing the Nightwing run, and it's been super good. They even changed Dick Grayson to Rick for a little while, doing some odd things there. But like,
tell me more about this Dick Grayson.
Yeah, this Dick Grayson character. But even like DC's trying a Black Label line, which is supposed to be kind of a more towards adults, a more adult take on the comics. And the first one they did was a Batman book, and they showed like you saw a thing where you saw Batman's dick in issue 1. So like that became a collector's item because it was the first appearance of Batman's dick. So
wasn't that
exactly? But then like they got backlash from it. So then they've been kind of in the wind with what this Black Label line really is. Is it more of an adult gear towards things? Or is it just where you put things that are slightly out of continuity and try to do them? Whereas I was hoping they would just be like, well, we're just going to kind of go in a more adult setting and a darker perspective from this. But the smallest bit of pushback, and this was 4 or 5 years ago, it just kind of blew them off the pattern. So I don't know. There's a couple different schools of thought, but neither of them in the comic realm have really. I don't see them having a course. A lot of them are just throwing different things out there and hoping something sticks. And they hit a lot of cool home runs with Spider-Man in Marvel with the stuff that led to the Spider-Verse, because they put out a Spider-Gwen book on accident and she caught fire because it was such a cool character. And then they're like, crap, we've got to do that. Yeah. But subsequently, they were also doing a character called Silk, who was a character that got bit by the same spider as Peter Parker, but her parents took her kind of underground into a bunker for a decade and tried to hide her from the world. But she didn't hit quite as hard at the same exact time as Gwen did. So then Gwen hit fire and became part of the Spider-Verse animated series and all that and went nuts. And now we're just digging through, Elseworlds of spiders to see which one will hit next. And to the point where we're like, can we do something else with this? But the thing that they chose to do something else was bring Ben Reilly back, which was stupid. So they make bad decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right when you were saying that it's a throw everything at the wall and kind of see what sticks, or like almost like a Family Guy comedy strategy where it's like there's so many jokes in an episode that it's like you miss half of them because they're not really that funny, but then it's like, oh, this one was funny, oh, that was really funny.
But so much of the industry is like people my age and your age are hitting 40 and becoming nostalgic, so you're seeing like they're re-releasing Garbage Pail Kid comics and Madballs comics. And you're seeing a spike in the 70s Star Wars stuff and those things. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Eastman and Lard got together and rewrote a Last Ronin book just because of, there's money to be had by our generation having collectability and money in this thing and grabbing for our nostalgia.
And nostalgia is a powerful marketing tool, Yeah. So, I mean, taking us back to Stranger Things, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. You know what I mean? Like, it just
all of it.
It's nostalgia.
All of it.
Sorry, I was being nostalgic there for a second.
I get caught in it all the time where I'm just like, oh, I remember when I had this and these, and like G.I. Joe, the Larry Hama G.I. Joe stuff started to spike.
Yeah. There's a G.I. Joe role playing game, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Everybody wants to be Snake Eyes.
I'm pretty sure nobody dies. I'm pretty sure the rule, that's the rule. There's zero
Duke
death
can't
in the
die.
game. Nobody. Well, yes, he can.
Okay, all right.
Why are we talking about? Never mind. I don't want to dive into the cartoons too much. Because didn't he die in the movie?
Yeah.
Like the one with Falcon, not the live action one, but the one with Falcon. Like the G.I. Joe movie, like the animated one, right? He died in that.
Yeah, we always killed our heroes. We killed him and we killed Prime in Transformers. I mean, it's just what we did.
Oh, God. If there was a moment that ruined my childhood, it was Optimus Prime dying. I was so... Oh, God, that messed me up as a kid.
Mine was when they turned Jazz into a Pontiac Solstice.
Yeah. Oh, man. Or when they... Never mind. I was going to go off on an Indiana Jones thing.
Aliens.
Jason.
Why aliens?
Why aliens? Weirdly, I'm still excited about the new one, and I don't know if it's...
I'm told they're going in a good direction, and give me more Nazis to beat. That's all I want.
Yeah, right? Like, have them fight Nazis. It'll be great. All right, well, I guess I'm probably wrapping it up because we're probably running out of topics. Or we could just keep
If not, we'll just have to do another one.
But thank you, Kyle. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for playing in the games up to this point. We're going to have to let you go because Adam Driver is going to be on deck. I'm just kidding. We're going to bring Adam Driver in.
Excellent.
As soon as we get a hold of his publicist. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously, man. You and Brian, like, you guys, our Pathfinder game, once we were started, like, just test recording it when it was like, when the one Jeremy was running, when it was Extinction Curse, like, that just kind of solidified the whole idea of, like, we need to do this as a podcast because this is
we
amazing.
are the fresh blood.
Yeah. Well, no, it was the chemistry in the role play. Like, it was just so, like, I don't know. You guys brought,
it was on
like,
point.
Yeah. You guys, even with the relative lack of experience in the games, you guys brought such a, like, fresh, like, look at it, like a fresh perspective to it that it really, I don't know, it made it fun. So I'm glad you guys
great
are
energy and in the way we all kind of like jive off of each other. I mean, it works really well.
Yeah, I've had a blast with it. I look forward to our recording nights. It's been quite fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Jeremy. And I guess that's it.